and they felt it was imbalanced in favor of the Taliban and that it emboldened the Taliban. They would seek the support of Pakistan for reigniting peace talks, but one in which a number of the issues that they are concerned about are on the table, including having talks with the Afghan government either directly or through proximity talks. They want more explicit language from the Taliban on women's rights and minority rights. And they want more explicit language denouncing terrorism or links to Al-Qaeda, none of which were there when this agreement was nearly signed. Thank you. I would just like your comments, and if that peace process, if and hopefully when it's reignited, what support can the Afghan people get from Pakistan in this regard? Thank you.
Well, number one, what the people of Afghanistan have gone through, forget me as a Pakistani, as a human being, we should all pray that they have peace. Because, you know, I've watched, you hear every day on a daily basis the sort of bloodshed that's going on. Now, I just repeat very quickly, there are only two ways right now. One is we keep going this way, which is military action, and I believe this will just keep going on. And because the Taliban, the moment they realize that the Americans already, they've cut the troops down, and if they think they're leaving, I mean, they're not going to give up, you know, with more military action. The other is peace talks. Now, peace talks, once they start, all this can be thrashed out. I honestly believe that this is not the Taliban of 2001. There's a lot of things that have happened, and I believe that they will be more accommodating. The Taliban delegation wanted to meet me. Problem was that the Afghan government did not want me to meet the Taliban delegation, so I did not meet them. But I told President Ghani, I said, look, if I meet them, I would try and convince them about all the things you're saying. And not only that, I would try and convince them that the Taliban must talk to the Afghan government. At the moment, they're only talking to the Americans. There are no direct talks between Taliban and the Afghan government. I would have tried my best. Because finally, I mean, yes, people they've looked back in 2001 and that period, and they think that, you know, the way Taliban behaved at the time, minorities and so on, with the attitude to women. But I think once the talk starts, I think all these things will eventually fall into place, because the people of Afghanistan, both sides, want peace right now.
Jeffrey Rosen.
Thank you. Jeffrey Rosen from Lazard. You described earlier the relationship with China that's been developing, an economic relationship. I'm curious how you reconcile that relationship with reports about the treatment by the Chinese of Muslim churches, Muslim mosques, the practice of Islam in China. Whether you're able to use this as the relationship as a means of pressuring the Chinese to perhaps relax in that treatment, and if not, whether you raise the risk of perhaps some of the more radical elements of Islam in Pakistan, acknowledging there's not radical Islams, but there are radical Islamic people who practice Islam who are radical, whether you run the risk of a reaction from them domestically, which could unsettle the country, your country.
Particularly given what the Chinese are doing, you know, with the Uyghurs.
Look, with the Chinese, we have a special relationship, and it's the way China functions. Any of issues like these, we talk to them privately. We don't make public statements, because that's how China is. And I again repeat, I mean, China has come to a help when we were right at the rock bottom. So I would not publicly talk about it, but just, you know, as someone who has taken over Pakistan 13 months ago, faced the biggest economic crisis, dealing with that. We have a problem in Afghanistan trying to settle that. We are worried about what would happen now with Iran and Saudi Arabia, the United States. That's the other border. So one border Iran, the other Afghanistan, and now with India. I think I've got enough on my plate right now. Wouldn't you say, Richard? What would you do if you were in my position? You'll probably have a heart attack by now.
Unlikely. I would welcome that conversation.
Listen, the only reason I can cope with these pressures is because, when you walk out on not a lot of you won't understand cricket, but imagine, you're walking out on a cricket field, there are 90,000 people in the stadium. You walk 70 yards down into the middle of the pitch, and the worry that you can be out first ball and you will have to walk all the way back with 90,000 people. So that takes character. It builds. So you are able to play under pressure once you cope with that, and that's the only way I have coped, and Richard, you would not have been able to. I'm telling you.
Every golfer knows what it's like at the first tee when the crowds are there.
Golf is a piece of cake compared to this.
We could continue that, but I will show uncharacteristic